All right. Welcome to this training. This is going to be all about buying from the auction. Let me make sure I can get this in full screen mode. Boom. Let's see here. Well, let's keep it how it is. I am bringing on my man, Spencer Caldwell from Gentry Real Estate, Buy Low AZ. He has been my bid service since 2010. We started buying from auction. This is a crucial part in any real estate investor's journey in terms of wholesaling, buying and holding, and rehabbing. This is a blessing because Spencer actually came to me and offered up his wealth of knowledge. So he is doing me and all of the attendees a huge favor on this call. So Spencer, what's up, dude? I really appreciate you giving up your time, dude.
Yeah, not a problem. Pleasure to be here and give a little back, and looking forward to spending time with you here this afternoon. Thank you.
Awesome. So what we're going to do on this training specifically is Spencer and I are going to kind of banter back and forth. Ultimately, Spencer, as we discussed, this is going to kind of be your show here. You have all the years of experience. And I will just simply say this. If you are looking at the auction Courthouse Steps as a place to buy homes, I would really, really urge you, even if you're not in Arizona, to find a bidding service. We will get in depth into why, but I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the most impactful trainings you guys are going to have, whether you see it independent or possibly even the Science Flipping Academy. So Spencer, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. He is my guy. He's been buying homes for me down at the auction since 2010. But why don't you just rip away and we'll kind of banter as you're going.
Yeah, not a problem. Appreciate it. So my name is Spencer Caldwell. I've been running a professional auction bid service for the last 12 years here in the Maricopa County, Phoenix area. And we actually, focus on Maricopa County just because it's the biggest county. But we handle a few other side counties also. But what you're going to want to do just to get going is focus on Phoenix area. And I'm married with 4 kids, been married for 17 years, 4 kids. My oldest is 15 and they're about 3 years apart all the way down. I love real estate. I've been in real estate for a long time. And I specifically like helping investors buy cheap deals at the auction. And that's what I focus on, is the auction and some wholesaling. So we kind of do it the auctions in the morning because the auctions are in the morning, and then we do wholesaling in the afternoon. But what we're going to go over is the auction process and just what is a real estate foreclosure trustee sale auction. It's a long title and a long word, real estate foreclosure trustee sale auction. And so we're going to go over that today, the details, the ins and outs, and hopefully give you some type of education. The ultimate goal is to give you enough education that you can buy at the trustee sale, and hopefully you'll use my service to make that happen. So that's a little bit about me, Justin.
Yeah, let's jump in, man. Let's kind of start from the beginning, what it is, why this is a great resource for all investors, how it works. I mean, I'm just going to let you have the reins and, act as if you're talking to me and you're just teaching me why we'd use you or what the whole thing is, man. This is your rodeo now.
All right, cool. So what we're going to do is go over auctions today, foreclosure trustee sale auctions. And my company is Gentry Real Estate. It's a brokerage. I've got a little over 100 agents and have a location here in Gilbert, and absolutely love doing real estate. And let me go to the next slide here. Buying homes. Let's see here, for some reason it didn't. Oh, there we go. Buying homes at auction with Buy Low AZ. So Gentry is my brokerage. Buy Low AZ is the team that we work under to buy these auction homes. And I went over a little bit of who we are. Like I said, I'm Spencer Caldwell. I own Gentry. I own the company. You will be dealing directly with me on a day-to-day basis. You will have my cell phone at the end of this. And you're welcome to correlate with me anytime. I work with all my clients on an individual basis, and this is what I do all day, every day. So I absolutely love it. We're one of the top bidding services in the Phoenix area. There's about 4 or so companies that are working at the auction, and we've helped investors buy over 20,000 properties at the auction in the last 10 years. And so we're one of the top guys there. I'll show you a little picture of who I am. It looks like today I've got a beard. I'm clean shaven here. This is my family.
That's how I met you there. Clean
What's that?
shaven. That's how I met you, when you're all clean shaven. And
I've been a little bit lazy coming off the summer vacations, trying to get back into the
you look
grind.
good. We could be brothers right now, dude. You look good with the beard, bro.
Thank you. I do like beards. That's for sure, and especially not having to shave them. So a little bit of my services is we provide you an auction list. It's easy. You just can't get this auction list from anywhere. It's a very hard list to get, and the reason is there's 12 major trustees that hold cells in the Phoenix area, and with these 12 trustees, they correlate with the banks, and so there's three parties in buying a trustee. So you've got the bank. Obviously, someone's late on their mortgage and the bank wants to take possession or sell the property. So the bank actually hires the trustee. And the trustee is where we go as a third-party buyer to go buy the properties. And so these auction lists, there's about 12 major trustees in Maricopa County. So we have to spend all day gathering and compiling all this data of all the houses that are going to auction. And it's not an easy task because, like I said, there's 12 different locations and they all report the data differently. And so we compile a list to make it as simple as possible for you to read this list. And that list takes a long time to compile. All day, every day, we're working on the auction list for the next day's auction. And we provide drive reports. So some of you are going to be out of the state, which is fine. You can't go drive and see the property. So you'll text me or email me and say, hey, Spencer, what does this property look like? We're interested in buying it. So we'll send some drivers over there, take some pictures of the property, and we'll send it over to you. That way you can work your numbers and figure out what you want to be bidding on the property. And that's one of the most important things is what's the physical condition of the property. And we'll go through that a little bit more. Bidding, we bid for you. We show up to the right place at the right time and bid on the property for you. And that's very important to know what you're doing when you're bidding, because you can mess up and end up buying the wrong property. And the problem with buying the wrong property is when you buy it today, you put down a $10,000 deposit. So it's not easy to make a $10,000 mistake for any of us. It doesn't matter how financially fit you are or not. It's making a $10,000 mistake can hurt. And so
that's right then and right there, right? When you put that $10,000, you win the property, you give a check right then and there, right?
Right then and there, you win the property, you give a $10,000 non-refundable check. And so you've got to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. There's no messing around there. We provide to you the live auction results. And it's important, if you don't know, if you didn't get the property, you want to know what it sold for so you can kind of adjust your bid for the next time. Mm-hmm. We do a back tax check and a title search. Once again, buying the right thing. That's why you use us to bid. You don't want to show up and buy a second mortgage because you will be financially devastated if you buy a second mortgage. If you buy the first, for the most part, everything falls off, and we can go into those details a little later. But you want to make sure you're buying a first mortgage, and that's why you'll use a professional service such as myself to make sure you're buying the right thing. If you go back to auction lists, later on in these slides, you're going to learn that how to get on the auction list, and these auction lists, they come every single day because there's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. There's auctions every day. And so you get the auction list the night before the next day's auction. And the reason why you get it so quickly is because the data is just not pure and clean until the day before the next day's auction. So you need to really make sure that you have the data accurately. So that night before the next day's auction, you'll get the list. On the list, there's a bunch of data, but the most important thing is what's the opening bid of the property versus what you feel the value is. And then once you get the drive report, you're going to be able to work your numbers backwards, or however you work your numbers, and figure out what you feel that you can pay for the property based on the drive report and the condition of the property, and based on the opening bid. And on these auction lists, you'll be getting 2 separate lists. You'll be getting a pick list and a bulk list. Only look at the pick list, because on the bulk list, there's going to be a lot of properties that don't have opening bids. And so if they don't have an opening bid, they're going to postpone or cancel. So that's one thing you've got to get used to with bidding at the auction is a lot of things postpone or cancel. It's a lot of throwing mud at the wall for one to stick. Sometimes you'll have to bid on 10 properties to win one, and that's okay. A deal's a deal. When it comes at the end of the day, we're just looking to buy low, right, and sell higher and make some money, or just get a good rental, depending on what the goal is. And so that's a little bit about our services.
Which is key, because looking at the back taxes as well as title search, super, super important that you're buying clean title, that you're buying title that can be insured, because there's stuff out there that won't be, and no title will insure your new purchase.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to make sure it's clean. And I see people make this mistakes every day. I can't be the saving grace to everyone and that's down there, because we're so busy bidding on properties, helping our clients. But I see people make mistakes every day, and it hurts to see them do that. And I do, when I'm there and I can save them, I do my best there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a few things, you know, before you start, are you kind of like a do-it-yourself type person, or do you want turnkey? And if you're here locally and you want to get your elbows greased and do your own work, you're welcome to do it. The house is yours. If you need someone in the market because you're out of state to perhaps get the property fixed up for you, to get it ready to list, to sell, so you can flip it out or turn it into a rental, I can help you with those type of contacts. It's not a problem. So you've just got to decide, and we've got to communicate. And I want to hear your game plan before you buy. I just don't want you to come and spend the cash and act like everything's going to be okay. So it's important that you and I are talking. We're going to go over quite a bit of foreclosure education today. And the U.S. law has some statutes that govern foreclosures and trustee sales. And it's kind of interesting. I have a cousin that's a state senator of Arizona, and we went to see him in Washington, D.C., and you have all the federal offices there. And there's actually a trustee office of the trustee in Washington, D.C. And so these are foreclosure trustee sales, and there's a lot of laws that govern that. Here's a link if you wanted to scribble it down real quick to kind of understand where these laws come from and what's going on. But there's two types of states in the U.S. There's a judicial state and a non-judicial state for foreclosure trustee sales when someone's late on their mortgage. And we're a non-judicial state, which is great in Arizona. So it makes it very friendly to buy a trustee sale. And meaning I can buy it today and literally take possession of it today. I don't have to buy it today and wait for 3 months to get an answer if the property's mine. And so that's why Arizona is so friendly with these trustee sales, and it's an awesome state to do real estate in, because it is very it's nice. It's a non-judicial state. So how are trust deeds or mortgage liens treated in Arizona? And then down below, non-judicial trustee to sell at auction. So the cool thing is when we buy at auction, we get a trustee's deed, and it's actually a quite solid deed on the property. And like I said, if you know what you're doing, you buy the first mortgage, everything else gets wiped away. And so that's why you'd use someone like myself, a professional bid service, to make sure that you're buying the correct note, and you're making the right buy, and not just making an assumption that it's easy to get done. I'm going to explain everything to you as easy as I feel it is, and as possible. But like I said, non-judicial state. And how are Arizona mortgages foreclosed? So basically, if you and I stop making our mortgage payment, there's only so long that we're going to be able to live in that house here in Arizona before something comes in the mail or a knock at the door and says that you need to go. And that time frame is actually really small in Arizona. It's only a matter of months before I stop making my mortgage today. Within a few months, I'm going to be getting some type of notice that my property is being sold. And that's what's great about Arizona is for us as investors, if we're watching a house and they stop making the payment, well, more than likely that's going to sell pretty quick. And so the lender publishes this sale. Like I said, we produce the data for the day before the next day's auction, even though we're watching it come down the pipeline, because they can postpone or cancel, and a lot of things happen. And once that lender publishes the sale, it's known to the public. It's hard to get that data, so that's why we provide that free list to you. All these services are free until you buy that I provide. The sales happen Monday through Friday, starting around 9 o'clock, ending around 5. And more than likely, it's about 10 till noon, depending on what the volume of that day is. And on to the next slide. Power of sale notice requirements include trustee's deed or deed of trust. And so we talked about that securing document. When I buy it at the trustee sale today, I'm actually going to give them vesting. And vesting is the name that the name or the identity that you're going to place on that deed. And so we will need that, preferably an LLC to protect you as an investor, but not always do investors have an LLC. The property I bought today, someone put it in their name. So it's important that I have that vesting so we can, once we win it today and put down that $10,000 like we talked about, you're going to actually get a winning bid receipt or a proof of purchase receipt that shows that you bought it and that $10,000 has been placed. And then the next day, you're going to settle up with the trustee cash, cash meaning by wire or cashier's check. And trustee sales are all cash or hard money in Arizona, so you've got to be dealing with cash. And if you don't want to pay the cash, you can definitely get the hard money, and I can help you secure that. That's not a problem. And on to the next slide. What are the legal instruments that establish an Arizona mortgage? 120 days to effectuate the non-judicial foreclosure. We talked a little bit about that. I stopped making my payment, and it's time. Immediately the bank knows you've got a 30-day late, and they start to effectuate that non-judicial sale. And so what's great about Arizona? How long does it take to foreclose the property in Arizona? It's 90 to 120 days. And the cool thing about Arizona, if I buy it today, all sales are final, and the property's mine if I buy it today. So that's what's exciting about Arizona. There's no post-sale statutory. Every once in a while, someone in Arizona will sneak in a BK literally a minute before it sells. And that's the only time it can be rescinded in Arizona if someone declares bankruptcy and that house is in there. It's very rare. It's about a 1%, but I have seen it happen. And are deficiency judgments permitted in Arizona? Yes, they definitely are.
What does that mean? Go in a little bit more about what that means.
Yeah. So a deficiency judgment in a non-judicial state is basically I've stopped paying on my mortgage and I've got a deficiency, and that becomes a judgment upon me, and basically that's what gives the bank momentum to effectuate the sale of a trustee sale, and so that happens, and it's okay. I mean, if we're not making our payments and the homeowner's not making their payments, then it's okay for someone to get foreclosed on. You know, we've got to be making our payments.
Now, you may go into this, but when does it go from the bank over to the trustee? When does that kind of engagement happen? How do the banks pick one of the 12 trustees to give the property to?
Great question. Now, the trustees, they're just third-party businesses like you and I. We can start a trustee if we want. Sometimes they're attorneys' offices. They don't have to be an attorney's office. And so those trustees go out and they actually go and get the business from the banks to hold the sales. That's how the trustees get the business. The banks just have a creating relationship.
And there's roughly 12 here in Maricopa, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you work with all 12 every day?
Yes. And so it's stereotyped. You probably, if you have anything or know anything about foreclosure sales, it's stereotyped that they happen at the courthouse. And yes, a majority do happen at the courthouse, but every day sales happen other places besides the courthouse. So you have to know what you're doing and where you're going. Mm-hmm. And we can cover all 12 locations. And
that was the main point I'm getting to. I mean, the whole idea here is, trust me, guys, I've bought in hundreds of homes, but never have I done it by myself, because Spencer can go get all of that data from all 12 locations and just provide me a list. And if you try to do it yourself and you show up at one place, let's just call it the auction steps. Well, there might not be a trustee that has their data in the auction steps, and you're going to miss out on that deal. This is why you want to be able to use the service. So
yeah, it's true. Like, for instance, I'll show up at one auction and see someone there. I'm like, hey, I don't see you other days. And it's because they're not getting the data. And so I'm always happy to provide that data for free to them, and in hopes that they will use me to buy the property.
Yep.
So great questions, Justin. Thanks. Now that you understand the auction process, we're going to go over a little bit about creating cash and building wealth. There's a lot of strategies in Arizona, and Justin, I'm sure, has touched base on these several other times. It seems like most of the people I work with are fix and flippers. I would say 90% are fixer flippers. It's not a hit a home run in Arizona. It's a bunch of base hits, which is fine. Some people get as creative to do these lease options or seller financing once they buy the property if they don't want to flip it. And that's some cool way to create cash flow. And, in Arizona, we're a growing market. We're one of the largest cities in the state here. One of the largest cities, Phoenix, in the U.S. And so we still have a lot of people moving here. During the summer, like it is right now, where it's real hot, I'm not sure why they would want to come. But the winter pays off for it. So we do have some appreciation still. And there is cash flow opportunities. By the time you put your mortgage on it and rent it out, rents are on the rise. And we're getting a good premium for rents. So we can't really complain about, as far as the cash flow goes. As you may know, owning real estate is some of the best tax deductions that we have, and the best wealth builder. And I always like to share success stories from clients. My wife and I bought a house in Queen Creek through Spencer for $55,000. 2 weeks later, after spending $4,000 for some cosmetic repairs, carpets, put it back on the market for $86,900. To my surprise, on the third day of the house being listed, we had 3 offers on the table. We accepted an offer for $82,100. We are netting over $17,000. I would consider this to be a pretty good base hit. Their cash on cash return was pretty phenomenal on this. And so I always like to work with clients and see there's the actual house that they flipped in Queen Creek. But it's fun to see them and watch their success. I work so much on the front end helping them get the deals. And so when they come back to me and say, hey, I made cash, I always like to hear those success stories. A little bit about Phoenix. We're a big sports hub, obviously, and the weather is beautiful. I'm sure if you've been to Phoenix, you probably came and stayed in Scottsdale, maybe did some golfing. A lot of golf courses everywhere. And Phoenix is the capital and the largest city in Arizona. It's the fifth most populated city in the U.S., and I think we're right there, headed to 4th right now. I actually live you've got Phoenix and you got all these surrounding areas. I actually live in Mesa, just straight east of Phoenix, but it takes me probably 9 minutes to get into Phoenix. I'm not too far away from the airport. Phoenix has grown by over 25% now since 2000. Second fastest growing in the metro area of Phoenix. A few more things about Phoenix is we're a very high-techy headquarter, and we have plenty of jobs. The job rate, I mean, if you want a job in Phoenix, you're gonna have a job. I mean, that's how great Phoenix is. It's a great area to live. It's a great area to do real estate in. It's a great area to flip properties. It's a great area to build a rental portfolio. Anything with real estate oriented, Phoenix is awesome. So here we have the Phoenix area in the Maricopa County. We do some work out of the other counties, but I don't really want you to focus too much getting out of the county, because the most important thing is just sticking to the closest where the most population is. So let me go to here. Got another Greater Phoenix area. So you got to decide what you're going to be doing. Cosmetic fixes. I told you earlier, we can help you pick up a contractor and help you get multiple bids. Don't worry about that. If you're not living in Phoenix, it's okay. We can help you get someone to fix the property up. That's not a problem. The average day on market for standard sales is actually, it's not very much right now. I mean, the good properties are getting offers on them within a few days, which is very exciting. We're in a very active market, and there's plenty of buyers. And so not a problem. If you want to buy a property here and we do it right, we fix it up right, you're going to get it sold. And so that's the exciting thing about Phoenix. Here's another testimonial. This guy, I won't read it. You can screenshot it or whatever you're doing here. But the funny thing about this client was he actually pulled up to my office a few years ago and said, hey, come see what I bought with my last flip. And I'm like, oh, great. And so he made a good little chunk of change on a flip. He actually ended up holding it for, I believe, a year, maybe more. So I went out to the parking lot, and he had a Tesla in the parking lot, which is pretty funny that he used his money to go buy a Tesla. If you lack the cash, since we're dealing with only buying at auction with cash, you've got to do something. You've got to do cash or hard money. And let's see here. What few strategies are joint ventures. You can find a friend that has some money, and if you don't have the cash, and say, hey, I've got a great resource to buy them for you. And I think we're going to be talking about hard money. Yes, I do want to talk about hard money. Hard money lenders typically in the Arizona market require 20%. They're as high as 18% interest rate, and the loan terms are 6 months. And so you can get better in the market than 18% here in Phoenix now. So you just have to talk. It depends on what you're buying. Typically, there's no points up front. They'll charge you some type of upfront fee, right around $800. The cool thing about hard money is there's no proof of income required, and it's all asset based. If you buy the property, it's all asset based. So if I buy it at $100,000 today, I'm going to need about $20,000, 20% to put down, and so they're not going to be drawing blood to get the loan. I work with about a half dozen hard money lenders, and it's actually quite in essence pretty easy to be able to get the loan, get the hard money loan. I'm sure Justin has covered that before in some other classes. Hard money is quite easy to get. It's all asset based. So to get started, become a bidder. Here's a little bit of my access or contact info. Yeah, you want to go to buylow.az.com, and my cell phone, for the record, is 480-283-4425. You can shoot me a text or call me and say, hey, we talked. Add me to the list. But go to buylow.az.com, put in your email so I can add you to that free list. To go over a few other things is we pay taxes. You've got to pay taxes when you buy a trustee sale, and any taxes that are in arrears. And typically it's only $200, about $1,000. I'll let you know what that amount is. So you got some bills. Just because you bought it for $100,000 doesn't mean you're going to get it for $100,000. You're going to have a bid. You're going to have a bid fee to pay to buy the property, and you might have a few $100s of a HOA transfer fee. You might have some taxes to pay. So just because you bought it for $100, don't plan on a little bit of other fees. So we talked about title searches. I just want to bring it up because that's the most important. A lot of people say, hey, I can do this myself. I don't need a professional help. So we have a great relationship with a few different title companies that make sure that we're buying a first mortgage. And so once you're ready again to place a bid, I'm talking too much, Justin. Sorry, I had to take a drink.
All good, dude.
Here's my email. Feel free to email me also. And you've got my phone again right here if you want to do a quick screenshot. And the cool thing is once we win a bid, we get excited, kind of like this guy. If we win a bid, it's not over. That's kind of when the harder work starts. We've got to take that property and we've got to bring it back up to market value. And so, like I said, I'll give you a proof of purchase receipt, and I'll walk you through that, how we settle up with the trustee. So trustee auctions are a public auction. Anyone can walk up and buy. So why would you use us? You would probably use us because we're a professional bid service. We can check title. We can do drives. A lot of times you're out of state. And here's kind of another list, a list of some of the sales points. It's hard for most people to be in more than one place at one time. And so, use us as the resource. We'll represent you. It's convenient to use us. We'll provide you that free list that we've talked about. And we follow all the major trustees. If you're just following one or two trustees, you're missing out because there's so many other trustees. And we'll save you time. Let me grab you my email again, guys. Be sure to.
We can just, at the end of the slides, man, we can just kind of do a little Q&A, that I can give you. But I think one of the biggest things that everyone has to take away is I preach a lot about leverage and time and the value of your time. I can tell you with 100% certainty, if you don't use a service like Spencer's, again, some of you might be watching this and you live in Massachusetts. So sometimes it's not going to be Spencer, but you need to look at how much time you're spending to try to get that home. And then, yes, there is a fee to a bid service, but it pulls your title for you. It'll drive the property. It will give you pictures and groups all of the data so that every morning you can look at every single home going to the foreclosure steps, not just whatever one trustee that you're working with, right? And so the value is immense. And so I'm just a huge advocate and about using bid services. Like I said, I've used Spencer now since 2010, so a strong 8 years. But the reality is they're expert at what they do, and you protect yourself. I mean, what's the major hiccup that people, what's the major mistake you see down at the courthouse, Spencer? Is it typically buying second liens?
Yeah, buying second liens or just buying a property that they thought they were buying that it's not that property. It's just a really quick, happens super quick. So buying second liens and just buying the wrong property and being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and a lot of the followers I have, they talk about wholesaling, right? And so typically you don't need money, but Spencer's point about you can find partners, you can bring in an equity partner who could put the $10,000 down. There's people out there that will do that about, and on my other trainings, you can learn about how to raise money. But this is the next phase. In fact, Spencer, just speaking about wholesaling, do you have clients that wholesale these properties?
Yeah, I do. The auctions, it's a small part of the wholesale. Some people do buy at auction and send it back out on their list and wholesale it. But yeah, I mean, it does happen. Auctions are a resource of wholesaling for sure.
Absolutely, because the structure looks like this. So Spencer has a fee, and obviously reach out to Spencer so you guys can talk business. But let's say we're buying a home for $100,000, Spencer's fee, taxes, HOA. Let's just round everything up to $105,000, right? I need to put down 10 grand right then and right there. That being said, I then can text my buyers or email my buyers right then and right there and say 123 Main Street for $110,000. And I can make 5 grand without even really having to put down the 10 grand, because if they give me non-refundable 10 grand, then that money is then allocated to me and I never really have to put up the 10 grand. I technically do because Spencer's team will have to do that, right? But I'm never really out the money, because if it's non-refundable, you can just tell your title company to release non-refundable money immediately and you're never really out the money. I mean, I would really encourage people who understand the business and have been around for a while to do this. I wouldn't necessarily encourage a beginner to do this, but you can absolutely wholesale deals from the auction without having to be out the money. And you can have their same way. The end buyer can absolutely buy the deal the same way you would with any other wholesale deal.
Right. Yeah.
And to be able to have a function with, Spencer and Spencer, what other common mistakes do you see? And maybe not mistakes like buying mistakes, but that people just don't understand about this industry. I think the understanding of They missing their payments, and then they basically have 120 days in Arizona before that home goes to the foreclosure auctions. The trustees are basically, let's just for the sake of example, they're mostly lawyers' offices, wouldn't you say? I mean, yes, there are a couple that aren't, but
Yeah, for the most part, I would say a lot of attorneys' offices that do hold the sales, correct?
right. And so if you have a loan with Chase, then that attorney's office went and they did their own work by negotiating with Chase. Hey, I want all your foreclosures and I'll bring them to the trustee's office, correct?
Yep, correct. Yep.
And so you're really negotiating with the trustee. And can the trustee not accept your highest and best bid?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there's an opening bid, and what they don't have to accept, they won't accept what's below that opening bid, because sometimes a lot of people say, hey, it's just opening too high. And, if it's opening too high, the bank's protecting that asset. And I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. If we offer lower, it's not going to happen. I mean, because the banks don't really have control of it until they take it back. That's why that they're taking it through the trustee, so they don't have control of the asset.
Right.
So the opening bid, it is what it is, and we've got to offer above that. And if it's too high, it doesn't make sense, on to the next.
Is there any way a homeowner can go back and take their home back in the state of Arizona?
No, there is not, unless the only way they can protect their house going to trustee sale is to file a bankruptcy. But, eventually it's going to be coming around unless you can try to figure out your finances.
How quickly or when do they have to file or prove that they filed bankruptcy to be able to get their home back?
They have to do it before the trustee sale. So if the trustee sells today at noon and they filed bankruptcy at 12:05, too bad, the sale already went. So you've got to prove that you've filed it before.
And if they did, would I get my money back if I bought their home?
Oh yeah. If you buy their house and they prove that they did BK, we'll get it back the next day. We're not going to end up probably paying for that property.
Okay. Very good. Anything else, dude? Any other top of mind thoughts that you wanted to share?
No, man. I just appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about trustee sales and get my name out there. And
yeah, of course.
This afternoon for sure.
Well, I appreciate you spending your time, brother. Again, this is all about trustee sales, the foreclosure auctions. Look this up in your state, because I know there's going to be people all over the nation watching this training. So make sure you know your rules in your state. Spencer's, an expert here in Arizona, but he likely doesn't know how Philadelphia does it, or Boston, or, San Antonio. So make sure you look it up in your city, your state, those guidelines, because they all work a little bit different.
Perfect.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.